Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the SCA International Women's Day 2024 celebration. Today is going to be a special day because we have wonderful guests in our midst today. I'm going to be bringing our guest on board shortly. How I want to know where everyone is joining us from. So before we go on, you can see our guest, right? Yeah. Hi, Ada. Hi, Mary. Where is our third guest? Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you all doing? Let's start from Ada. Hi, Ada. You look so good today.
Thank you very much, Andrah. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Hi, Mary. How are you doing
Hello
today? Good afternoon.
everyone, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Hi. We have for folks who are looking to get into who are in the tech ecosystem but have a lot of questions about recruitment and everything. We have the perfect guest for you. So stay tuned and be ready to learn from her. How are you doing today?
I'm really good, Omatola. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And to our audience online, hi Queens, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining. We want to read from you. Tell us where you're joining us from, how the weather is on your end, because on my end it's a bit hot. So how the weather is on your end and how you're feeling today. So just as I mentioned before, this is the Chikut Africa International Women's Day celebration event, and our theme for this year is Inspire Inclusion Champion Changemakers. From the beginning of this month, before we go into that, we all know that She Code Africa is a non-profit organization that celebrates and empowers women and girls in tech across Africa. So every day is for celebrating women in tech as She Code Africa. We do that every day. But since this month is especially for to celebrate women in tech across the world, She Code Africa is also doing that in a special way, and that is why we've been having series of initiatives, events to celebrate this, and this is just one of many. So today's event, we have brought in parts of folks from different parts of the ecosystem. Let me add a thought. Okay. Um, Folks from different parts of the ecosystem. We have a founder here, we have a technical creator here. We have folks who have gone through the She Code Africa programs, that's our initiatives. We have folks who have started from being newbies, who have even started from non-technical background and are doing so well. So if you're joining today, I need you to be open-minded to learn. Bring in your questions if you have any questions regarding inclusion, women in tech, how to get started, or how to leverage the ecosystem, and so up some other questions that you might have. Please feel free to bring that. We'll be going through questions later. Let's make this quick. We know our introductions. We can see our introduction, like Ada. I can see Ada, founder and executive director of Shikoda Africa, and so on and so forth. But in like a minute, we just want to do like a quick introduction. And I'm going to start with me because I used to forget to do my introduction. Hi everyone, I'm Motola Eugene Zobotayo, and I'm the community lead at Shikoda Africa. But this time around, I'm going to start with Ruth. Hi Ruth, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I'm so sorry I joined late. Hi, Omotola. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you, Andy and Mboba. My name is Ruth. I'm a program manager, open source program manager at All in Africa, and I also do community work at the Chaos Project. It's nice to be here, and I'm forever an XCA queen. Yeah, so it's nice to be here and share this space with my leaders. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruth. So let's move on to Andra. How are you doing today? Once again, thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Omatola. I'm really honored to be here, and you can call me Andy. I think it's easier. So my name is Andrah, but my nickname is Andy, and everybody calls me Andy. I'm really excited to be here. I work with Propel. I hope all of you know who Propel is, and we're really excited for what the future looks like, especially with all the energy and efforts we have put into harnessing um, talent from the communities. I feel like this is the year that we're now just going to scale to higher levels, just with the different uh, strategies that we've put in place. So I'm really honored to be here and to interact with you guys.
Awesome, awesome. I know our community members know Propel. I've heard about Propel and the awesome partnership that you have with us as She Code Africa. So once again, thank you so much for coming today. So let's move to Ada. Hi, Ada. We know you, but we want to know you more.
Hi, thank you very much, Omotola. Hi, everyone. Hi, Ruth. Hi, Andy. Hi, Mary. And also, hi to everyone joining in. Just like Omotola had mentioned, my name is Ada, and I'm the founder and executive director here at Chicod Africa. I'm really excited to be participating in this conversation. Many of you already know me even beyond what I do at Chicod Africa. I'm always going to be an ardent fan of every woman and girl who's trying to come into tech and who is from Africa. So, thank you. Hi, Omotola.
Okay, so I see I'm unable to like unmute myself. Um, just confirm with thumbs up if you can hear me. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. So let's move to Mary now. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Motala. Hi, Ada. Hi, Ruth. Hi, Andy. Hello to everyone joining online. My name is Mbaoma, but everyone calls me Oma. It's just easier that way. I work as a DevOps engineer with Victoria Bros. It's a startup agent company, and I'm really excited to be here to share my knowledge with everyone. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I think I need a bit of your introduction. You said it's easier to pronounce your name which way?
Oma, OMA.
Awesome. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Okay, let's get into it. I've mentioned earlier that one of our goal for having not just the IWD event, but this particular event is to raise awareness and empower women. And we want to not only empower you, we want you to take back the lessons to also inspire other women, other girls in your local community. And we want to also highlight the valuable stories of several women in the tech ecosystem, and some awesome work that communities like She Code Africa, Propel, and every other communities out there are doing, and also a call to action for to inspire inclusion. So today's question, I have some questions, and I also mentioned earlier that if you have any question you want to ask any of our guests, please feel free to share that in the comments. So my questions, for the questions I have set, I'm going to start with Ada, the She Code Africa founder. So Ada, as a founder, our audience and us wants to know how you have over the years actively promote inclusion within the She Code Africa as an organization, the culture and practices in there.
Okay, thank you very much, Omotola, for that question. And I'm going to admit, so the team had earlier shared the questions with all the speakers, and I'm not gonna lie, I was impressed with the list of questions and a bit overwhelmed, but I'm looking forward to sharing as much insight as I can. So to answer this particular question, the ways that we have been able to promote inclusion within the organization She Code Africa is first and foremost, it's a women-led organization, right? I'm the executive director, and I'm also very keen to making sure that for the kind of problem that we're trying to address, which is getting more women into tech, we need to also make sure that these women are able to see other women like them who are empathetic to their situation. So it's getting women to lead the different teams that we have at SCA. That is like our top priority to us, because these women can also understand the situations and challenges that our beneficiaries, our program beneficiaries are facing, so helping us even better address the problems. Then another one is we take in a lot of, or we open up for a lot of creative diversity in the sense of, having like a vast volunteer team. We're a non-profit organization, and a lot of people are looking to volunteer their skills and their resources to what we do as an organization. And this way, we are able to take in people who are from different diverse backgrounds, and not just women, but people who are from different diverse backgrounds who have different orientations and perspectives to the situations that we're trying to, address. And then the last one is within the team specifically, we've created an opportunity where for an activity where I'll call it like an extracurricular activity or extracurricular activities. So we created a situation whereby our team members are able to, share skills, share resources, share their knowledge on things that are not directly focused on the roles that they are playing. And the goal for this is to give them an opportunity to, embrace or rather learn new skills, get to interact with other team members on other opportunities, and then also build their own contributions and valuability back to the team. So in summary, it's one, making sure that it's a women-led team, and women are the ones who are leading the different roles. Two is, creating as more creative diversity opportunities, and then the last one is implementing extracurricular activities to make sure that team members are able to grow beyond their role, the scope of their roles. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ada, for that explanation. And I must say that is how it has been with She Code Africa. So I'm going to continue with Ruth. Hi, Ruth. As someone who is coming from another field other than tech, what has been your experience? I mean, starting out in tech, did you feel included? Please share with us how the journey has been so far.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? I think there's
Yes.
a bit of echo. Okay. So yeah, I think I would kind of like bucket them into the different challenges that I faced, and even like how that has kind of shaped me, and even what maybe the challenges are today. Right. So starting out in tech, right, like you said, I have a microbiology degree, and even before starting tech, I would have not maybe envisioned myself to be in the tech space, because one is I really liked microbiology. I wanted to become a doctor first, but the waves took me into microbiology. So so yeah, so like getting into microbiology, I loved it, right? And one of the challenges that I faced, starting tech, was the fact that I didn't, not like I did not like computers, right? But it wasn't something I liked engaging with naturally. So I found it hard to understand some particular concepts. That was a major challenge for me. Trying to learn like the basics of computer science, as well, like computer science, and then trying to transition into using Python. So I faced those challenges, right? And then the other kind of challenge that I faced was more of societal challenge, in the sense that my parents already know, okay, you studied microbiology, or this is the path that I want you to go, right? And then I'm turning back and saying, okay, I want to be in tech, right? So it was hard for me to, one, convince them that okay, this is a field that I can create a career in, one. And it was also hard in terms of like resources, right? Them also like giving, because I was just coming out of school then. I just graduated from school, I didn't have any job, right? So the resources in terms of like internet, all those like resources to build up that tech career, it was something that I had to two times convince them for. And most of those resources I gained from communities like She Code Africa, right? And then another challenge, which I think I would love to share, and this is something that I have thought about over the years, is with transitioning to a non-technical path, right? And what I mean by that is there are a lot of like times where can you hear me? Oh my.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I think I okay. I can't see others. That's why I think somebody pinged me or something. So yeah, so as I was saying, so there's
Please go
there's
on.
a lot of times where, like, people say that women are more likely to go into non-technical careers. They start off with code and then they branch off into that other part. Women are supposed to be here. Now, coming from somebody that I did not like to code, right? That was another challenge of knowing if I should switch to tech, right? If I should switch to a non-technical part, because at so many times, people would refer to like, okay, I know you soon get into a non-technical part. So that was another challenge, and that was more of like a personal thing with me, having to switch, leaving coding entirely and knowing that okay, this is not something I want to do, but there are other parts in tech, right? And then lastly, I think the one I would talk about is regards to mentorship. I know early on in my career, I was fortunate enough to have people that were already in like tech, that were already doing well in tech, to guide me or to ask questions to, right? But it was also very hard as well for me to know what, like, at the period where I wanted to start, where do I get started in, where do I focus my energy, what do I do, and like that's how like I got to connect better with women, with She Code Africa, and got mentorship. I was part of the SCAM program, which really helped me into knowing, okay, like structuring that path for me to go with, right? After the program, I was able to start writing articles and got a job after. So that structured path for me to follow was something that was hard. But now with communities like She Code Africa, I was able to you know, go past that challenge. So those are the different challenges that I faced when starting out, and that made me did not like I didn't feel included at the time. But these were the things that kind of helped me feel included.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ruth. Not only you, and not only Omotola, I know a lot of other queens, other ladies out there can also relate to this story you just shared of the challenges. Yes, I also want to become a doctor, even though I have a technical background. I also want to. But yeah, so even with that, even with the interest and everything, the journey has not been easy so far, and I can totally relate to some of this. We just put in the chat that ladies should also share some of the challenges they're currently facing, navigating their career in tech. Okay, so before we go to Andy, I would love to ask Mary a two-in-one question. Mary, as someone who has gone through the SCA cloud school program, right? I want to know because I think you also can relate to what Ruth also just shared. So I want to know how this SCA program has helped your career journey, and also if there's any challenges you did face as someone starting out as on the entry level. Let me repeat that question. So, how has the SCA program, cloud program, helped your career journey? And if any, what challenges did you face as an entry level professional regarding inclusion? Hi, Oma. Hi there. Okay. You're muted.
Sorry,
You're
I'm
trying.
having network issues. Could you kindly repeat the question again?
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, I'll be. So it's a two-in-one question. The first question is how has the SCA program that you went through, how has it helped your career journey, and what are some challenges that you face as someone who started as an entry-level professional regarding inclusion?
Okay, thank you for that question. So I think it has to do with the field I chose. You just confirm if you can hear me. Can everyone hear me? Okay, thank you. So I think it has to do with the field I chose, which is DevOps. So I actually started out in DevOps like a lot of times. So the first time I started out, I think I was in probably 200, 300 level. I can't remember. And so I found out that, oh, there were a lot of things to learn, and the barrier of entry was really high because I don't think there were a lot of internship opportunities like back then. This was like maybe 2018 or 2017 or so. So I somehow found out about the She Code Africa program. Then I applied to it, and then the trainings were rigorous because I was okay. I've actually had experience with coding, but then DevOps was like a whole different ball game altogether. So before getting into the program, we had to like take a test. I think the test was to write a Docker file. And then it was something really big. I was so confused. I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? So what I did was to reach out to people who I knew. I think back then I only knew like one or two people who were DevOps engineers. So I had to reach out to them like, oh, please help me with my assessment. So I think the SCA program helped me to understand more about the DevOps field, and them having mentors to teach there just shows that okay, if you are able to like calm down and this and then you'll be able to like understand this field. The program also helped me with getting things like resources like I think we needed um, access to cloud environment and some other accesses too, and there are even some tools that I literally had no idea about. But getting into the program, I was introduced to like more tools to learn. So the program does basically provided us with resources, mentors, and I think being in a community whereby you see other people like yourself who are interested in the same field will kind of give you that confidence you need to like learn. So up to today, I'm super grateful to the SCA Cloud School program for that opportunity. I think I went to the program twice actually. So the first time I started, I did not complete because of school then. I think I wasn't the only one in school. We had like other people, other women who were also in school. So that was even one reason that kept me going for a while. But I couldn't finish there. Then I came back the second time. I was still in school, but I had like a lot of more free time. So having to be in that community of learners, having to like work on projects, because I think another thing most beginners face is they take all the tutorials but don't have the idea of okay, this project, how can I work on it such a way that I can put it on my resume. Then most people don't have like mentors they can actually talk to like give them practical tips. Then some people don't have, some can be like, oh, I want to maybe work with Azure Cloud, but then I need to put my debit card, oh, my card is not working, things like that. So the program like provides credits, like cloud credits you can use to practice. And also, the most important thing was that job opportunity. Because most people, after they learn, take all the tutorials, maybe talk to the mentors, do projects, they don't have that opportunity to like get a job or an internship. But then the cloud program provided us with all these things we needed. And that was what helped me to actually kickstart my career as a DevOps engineer. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I must say, aside, yes, this is what the SCA program has been, this is the impact it's been making. And aside from that, I must also add that your dedication, because not completing the program at first, having faced several challenges, right? And still coming back, giving it a go and getting it done shows how inspired and motivated you are. I'd like to like applaud you on that as well. So let's go to Andy. Hi, Andy. We've had a lot of challenges from um, people who started out in tech, Ruth, for example, and Mary also shared how the program she has gone through, the challenges she has faced. So, as a talent recruiter, right, Andy, tell us, how do you hire diverse talent, especially while bridging the inequality gap, especially in your hiring process as prepared? Did you get the question, or do you want to go again?
I did. How do we hire diverse talent? We try to bridge the gap, inequality gap. Thank you for the question, and again, it's very inspiring to hear you ladies' stories. Ruth, that was quite a feat, and I don't, I don't want to mispronounce your name, but thanks for sharing your journey. Um, so I'm very happy that we are in a time where companies understand um, the importance of having diverse teams, and that's because just looking past people's gender, background, and race, it kind of does help them to build an innovative and a very creative organization to achieve better results. So every time we are sitting with our different clients, for those of you who do not know Propel, um, we have a plethora of products that we offer to communities, but we do build for the community. And in that sense, um, I don't want to use propel like it's such a pun, but we do propel African developers to global opportunities. We connect them to global opportunities. And so, sitting down with our different customers, the first thing that we do is we gather metrics on the diverse groups that they have, especially in leadership positions, because it then gives a clear picture of where they are, and we try to determine where they want to be in terms of hitting that diversity score. So once we've done that, of course, I think most of you have interacted with our product where you get to, log into your account and submit your resume and create a profile. If you haven't, we have a new feature where you kind of populate a new pitch deck sort of profile for yourself. Now, we have tried to look into the future and see what the bottlenecks are when it comes to hiring from different groups, right? And one of them is sharing blind resumes. Now, when I say blind resumes, we just give one name and an initial so that you're not too biased to think, oh, is this a female, is this a male? And Africans are very privileged in that nobody can ever tell, the sex of our names. So that kind of just does give a very uniform situation for us. And then, of course, just being very aware with the job advertisements that we put up, to have more inclusive languages that speak to a broader audience, right? And not saying he needs to have this and this kind of skill, or she just, kind of incorporating all diverse groups in the job descriptions that we put. And of course, the big thing that we've done in the last couple of years, even as Propel, is harnessing the power of AI and letting AI do a lot of the screening and filtering, and being able to do a bigger chunk of the first couple of steps in the interview process, so that you know the candidates that are coming through the funnel are a good fit for the role, despite the orientation that they come from. So those are just some of the parameters that we've put in place, but also making sure at the end of the day that your eventual shortlist is distributed quite well. So you have a good representation of diverse groups and not just leaning towards one group. I hope that answers your question.
It does ask some questions. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. And to our audience, I know our community members have heard a lot about Propel and have been in the Propel talent pool. And we're also going to be adding the link to create an account, join the pool, create your resume, and some other things. And if you are not part of the Shipwood Africa community, you are missing a lot, because the Propel team will be joining the SCA Queens to review their CVs and give them more insights on how to um, put yourself at the best position when it comes to looking for opportunities, especially in the tech ecosystem. So I just wanted to add that. So let me thank you so much for sharing, Andy. Let me move on to Ruth. Hi, Ruth. So you have a remarkable experience in the open source experience and impact in the open source ecosystem, especially empowering folks to building and growing their career in the space. So we want you to give us insights into how you have used your experience, or you're currently using your experience and resources to advocate for inclusion and also to inspire people in your community.
Sure. So yeah, I started open source really early on in my career. So um, based on the experiences I had in terms of getting into this space, because globally open source is a lot of open source global open source communities. There's a lot of technical jargon. There's a lot of hard projects that have been there for a very long time. So for especially for beginners and people just getting started in tech, it's hard for them to understand what to do when they join those communities, and even visibility for those communities is hard in this part of the world. So when I got into open source and when I was able to make contributions, and thank you again for SCA, because like that was even literally just maybe sharing a bit of that story. In 2020 when SCA had this um, combination program with Oscar, the Women of Open Source Community Africa. Yeah. So that was even how I got into open source and I found communities to actually contribute to, right? So having noting down that problem, that visibility was an issue, and even when people find those open source projects, knowing what to do and how to contribute with their skill set, no matter how what level they're in, was an issue. So I started, advocating in that sense of like getting people to know about the community that I was contributing to, and then running workshops or running how-to sessions, trying to speak in conferences, um, also letting the communities that I was contributing to understand that these are challenges that people from my region face when they're trying to contribute to your communities, and helping them modify those rules and those like community guidelines to be more inclusive, right? So I have been doing that over the couple of years, and just maybe highlighting one of the things I did last year was be more like make it more inclusive to women, right? I was more intentional about that as of last year, where I looked at this space, with the communities that I was contributing to, how many women are here, like how are they contributing, and I realized also that that visibility was also bad there, in the sense that women did not know like where to contribute, how do I get started, because we're already navigating. She Could Africa is doing a lot with getting women into tech, getting women resources. And there's even a part of Sugar Africa that attends to open source as well, right, with the internship. So I looked at it as an opportunity, with all the things that I've done in the space with my reach, to bring together a small group and mentor women that were interested in pursuing open source careers, right? Open source as maybe full time or getting grounded in open source. So I created a small mentoring circle of women that I have been mentoring over the period of 1 year. So that's something that I did last year that have been really impactful. That I see these women doing awesome things in the open source space, and I'm even looking to open that up into like more people to join, like those people that I've mentored. Create that chain where women that I am mentoring can also mentor others. So that's those how my experiences have kind of shaped, creating more inclusive spaces in open source for women.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ruth. And I must say, you are such an icon and you inspire a lot of other coins, including myself, in this ecosystem. Thank you so much for that. And let's go to Ada. Ada, we've heard from Ruth, we've heard from Homer, especially the SCA initiatives, how it has helped them. Both of them have mentioned several ways these SCA initiatives and programs have helped them. So our audience would like to know, beyond implementing inclusive initiatives, right? How do you measure the impact of these initiatives and ensure they are making tangible difference? Yes, we've heard the impact, but we want to know how you're doing that.
Okay, thank you very much, Omotola. And I think that this is a question that I can always answer if you wake me up in the middle of the night. Um, so, how do we measure the impact of all of the initiatives, these inclusive initiatives that we put out there? And I think one is from the most obvious part, which is trying to see the success of it and what do we define as success for whatever program. Success varies across whatever initiative or whatever program it is that we're running. But at the end of the day, our main goal as an organization is to be able to empower women and girls with skills and resources for them to move their career forward. So whatever program it is they're putting out there, whatever initiative it is they're putting out there, how many women have you been able to empower? But beyond this, we are not just looking at the quantity, we're looking at the quality of women who, and, the knowledge, the quality of knowledge that they're able to gain from these different resources and these different programs. And I'm really glad that Ruth and Oma are on this course because they are beneficiaries of our different programs. And, they're testaments to, I'm going to always toot both of you's horns every day. They're testaments to, some of the programs and success stories that we run at She Could Africa. But another thing is, how do we measure it? Is we look at whatever idea it is it leading to more growth? Because looking at it from the business side of things, regardless of how many opportunities, how many initiatives that we're putting out there, if it's not leading to growth for us as an organization, so in terms of expansion, because we want to be able to reach even more women. If we have reached 100 women from this program, how do we reach 200 more women from this program? How do we, if we are focusing on Nigeria, for example, how do we focus on women from Kenya? How do we focus on women from Ghana? So it has to lead to more growth. If it's not leading to more growth, then we might have to take it out. An example is, I'll give a very good example of, I think last 2 years, we were running an initiative within the community. And we realized that at some point, it wasn't as effective as we always wanted it to be. And we had to draw it back. And it received some backlash from the community because I think that was the first time that, people within the community would realize that, some of these initiatives are not permanent. So it's best to make use of it at the time that it's ongoing. And to us, that's our own way of realizing that, okay, if this thing is not bringing growth for the for the organization and for the community, then we can always take it back. So we're looking at, okay, is it bringing growth for the organization? And then for the individuals who are leading it, as the team internally who is leading, or the team members who are leading it, is it providing opportunities for them to grow as well? Because while we are trying to empower women externally in our community, we also want to make sure that the women who are leading these initiatives internally, they are also empowered to the point where they are able to provide the needed, knowledge, the needed resources, etc., to run those programs. Those are things that we look out for, and that's how we're able to measure it. There are some other nitty-gritties involved, but in summary, these are some of the major ways that we're able to measure the impact of our initiatives.
Thank you so much for sharing. And yes, we've heard some of our guests share how SCA has impacted them. That has also shared how this is being tracked. I also want to encourage our audience and other people joining that are going to be watching this later, this session later, to share positive ways that the She Could Africa or other tech initiatives have inspired them, or how they've positively been impacted by the She Could Africa programs and initiatives. Please ensure to tag us and use the hashtag SCA IWD 2024. Share with us. We would love to read from you. We want to know if you've been positively impacted by our initiatives. Okay, so before I move to Handy, I would love to go back to Oma. Oma, I know you have also gone through the She Could Africa initiatives. I want to know, Ada just mentioned that we are empowering women and girls, not just for themselves, but also for them to take back to their local communities to also inspire other folks like them. So in what ways, or how are you using your experiences to also inspire people in your community?
Oh, all right. Thank you for that question. So on the SCA chat, there's a DevOps group, like a subgroup. So I actually volunteered to be a mentor on that chat, and I've been a mentor, I think, since for a while. I've been a mentor for a while. So it's a volunteer role. And what I get to do is whenever there is an engagement, sometimes we drop tasks on the chat. Then some people, like some ladies, drop questions. I tend to oh, let me go there and help them to answer. I think last week, Saturday, I had a knowledge sharing session where I got to teach about CI/CD pipelines. Then for the other tech communities that I'm a member of, I also always volunteer. Okay, when they say, oh, we need mentors, I always jump up okay, I want to volunteer to be a mentor. So I think for almost every community I'm in, I tend to play an active role, because it's hard for me to sit down and just be an observer whenever I'm in a communal space. Then personally, I also run a non-profit. I and some of my friends, whereby we go into slums, we go to public schools to go and teach kids about IT. So we teach them like Microsoft Word, Scratch, and also like maybe talk to them about like careers that they can pursue in the tech space. So I think just by volunteering and maybe having some chats with some ladies on maybe they're having difficult times in their career or they are transitioning or maybe review my CV or give a referral or something like that. So that's just how I turn up for people in the community.
Awesome. I love to hear that. I love to hear how people are getting value and also giving back value. So thank you so much for sharing that. And this is like a call to action for other ladies like listening to us or will be listening to us later. In as much as from what Ruth mentioned to us earlier, for every community or any initiative you find yourself being part of, as soon as you're getting value, find ways to also give back value to your community. Oma also mentioned how in her own way she's also giving back in her own way to back to the community. So this is a call to action to everyone. Don't say you're waiting to become a founder or you're waiting to become a director before you can give back. You can start from your own little space, encouraging that lady in your your streets, your local community, telling them about tech, sharing what you've learned so far with them, sharing resources with them, telling them about communities like She Code Africa, like platforms like Propel. It goes a long way. It starts with one person. You can start with one person, and before you know it, you've impacted a lot of other girls and women in tech. So let's go back to Andy. Andy, this session is about empowering, and we also mentioned that we want other people to learn from it, right, and also to take back. So I know a lot of folks in your own field will also want to learn. Organizations will want to learn from how you are running your process. So how do you address unconscious bias in your recruitment process, and how will you encourage organizations to also do the same?
Okay, thank you. Omar, first of all, it's really great that you are acting as a mentor. It's quite necessary and needed out here. Mentorship program is something that in the future we're really looking to get into as well. So that's really great. Kamugello from the chat, I just saw that you are learning cybersecurity to protect your family. Absolutely, it's inspiring, amazing. Addressing unconscious bias. Now, you know, you can never really, sometimes it's natural to gravitate towards people you like or people who gel or have similarities to you. It is natural, so you may not realize some of the practices that you may be influencing in recruitment with your unconscious bias. Maybe it's with the process, the recruitment process that you've incorporated in your organization. It could be in the interview process as well, right? So we really try to advise companies to be very aware of this. There's some things that are inevitable and you can't really change. So what we try and do is create structures uh, for them, or put structures in place that would sort of mitigate this. Now, for example, if you instantly come on a call, you see someone and you say, I like Ada, I like Ruth, immediately in the first 10 seconds, like, okay, you need to be able to measure or score that likability, right? And that will sort of give a fair evaluation for everyone and not just have you leaning towards one person. So every single process that you implement in the interview stage should be able to be structured and measurable, right? So we do encourage companies to put diversity in the front and center, first of all. And again, what I mentioned about having a diversity goal, as you're recruiting, you have done an audit of the company and you say, this is what we're lacking, this is where we need to be. So for this particular role, this is sort of the kind of person that we're looking for so that we have a balance. So once we have that goal front and center, of course, removing the adjectives in the job description, then you do a lot of automation of the shortlisting process. With AI, it's just able to scan through the resumes and tell you this this is a good fit for the position. And then from there, of course, structured interviews where everybody gets to do the same exercise, gets the same set of questions. And then from there, you're able to really remove that bias that you may have towards somebody. And if you do like somebody when you interact with them, then you have to give them a score, and everybody around the room has to agree, um, with that score as well. That way, you're not leaning towards one person. Um, the other thing is also having diverse hiring panels. So at Propel, we're very lucky to have, by the time you're going through an interview process, you will have a touch point with about 9 people before you make it to the client. And these 9 people are from, like, I'm from Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya. Um, my audio is quite low. Is it low? Can you? I just saw a comment that
Um,
my audio.
a little bit, if you can adjust it, that's fine. But I can hear you. Maybe you can adjust it a bit.
Yeah, I might try and use a microphone in the next question, and let's see if that makes a difference. Yeah. Yeah. So having a diverse, and I'll try and shout as well. Wake everybody, let them wake up and join us. So having a diverse panelist is also great because every person in that panel will have their own opinion. Again, scoring people is very, very important because I could give Ada a 50, Omar a 60, and another person gives them a 40. And then you sit and you discuss, what were the reasons for this, but a conclusive agreement sort of brings that. And of course, now we have the benefit of data. So, after they've gone through the whole AI screening, data will help you also make a decision on who the right person is. And of course, giving them skill-based assessments, right? So an assessment that will sort of give you a preview of how the person can perform the job. And remember, every single person in the process is getting the same test. So that sort of helps um, remove unconscious bias. And that's how we do encourage organizations that we partner with as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for noting the comments from our audience. We hope the audio will go a bit up when I ask the next question. So let's go back to after companies will also join us. We have executive directors that women-led organization or even other organizations that will also learn from this session as well. So what action, Ada, this question is for you. What action can companies take to contribute to more inclusive workspace culture? And what difference do you envision that this will make in the lives of young female professionals?
Okay, thank you very much, Omotola. And I think this is a very important question and one that I am always excited to respond to because it tallies in line with what we're trying to do at SCA. And the first one, it ties down to what I had mentioned earlier, which is visibility in female leadership. If you join a company as a woman, how often do you see other women like you in C-level roles? So C-level could be chief roles, chief executive officer, chief marketing officer, chief product officer, things like that. How often do you see women in senior related roles as well? Now, while we're trying to do this, we're also trying to make sure that they're hiring people who are competent in that role, but also we need to create as much diversity as possible. Provide as much visibility for other women who are joining your organization to see that, okay, there's a possibility for me to grow. And then another thing is in pay as well. How encouraging is the pay for that particular role? I've had situations where women would reach out to me and tell me stories of how they find out that they're making way less than what their male counterparts are making, and it's not a case of competency. It's not a case of they're smarter than me. Unfortunately, it's just a case of, okay, there's that unconscious bias. Okay, a woman, you would at some point get pregnant, you would at some point have to take time off in all of those things, which is quite unfair, right? And then the other one is in general, just creating like a welcoming environment for women to thrive in your organizations. As a woman, and I think I've seen some comments, as a woman, when I join your company, why do I have to choose between sacrificing either my career or sacrificing my family. I want to have a successful family and I also want to have a successful career. So why should I have to feel like you're looking over me to select somebody else to maybe go for that tree because you think that I have my family to like focus on and I might not be competent enough, I might not have that time, to show up for that particular situation. These are the little things that, many organizations do, and we call it unconscious bias, but at some point it's very conscious, it's very obvious. And if we create situations, if we create scenarios for these things to really be addressed, it would improve a lot. Companies need to go beyond setting up IWD panels or running IWD campaigns and billboards to actually putting in the work and having women who are their employees not feeling like, oh, the only time that I'm being celebrated or the only time that I feel like I'm visible in this organization is on March 8th or in the month of March. So yes, that's my response to that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think to also add to that, other organizations can learn from what She Could Africa is doing by celebrating women every day, giving them space to thrive, just like Adam mentioned, every day and not just a particular time. And because we want to be part of inclusion and just say, oh, let's be part of IWD, let's celebrate women during this period. Thank you so much for adding that, Adam. I can see questions in the from our audience, and I'm going to let Ruth take this question. Someone is asking if they can check track. Maybe the person starts for example, technical writing and wants to change their track in the tech ecosystem. So Ruth will answer that and also answer the last question I have for Ruth. And this is about other gender. How can you share like practical ways that other genders can become allies to women-centered organization and how they can also take action to foster inclusion? Ruth, that's for you.
Okay. So maybe I'll start with answering the question you just asked, and then I'll move to the attendee question. So I'll say give us money. Like yeah, so I think there's a lot of, especially during the month of, like, during March, IWD, there's a lot of campaigns that go on, about how to include women in the workspace, in other fields, how to be more inclusive to women, or how to um, but then there's also the part where doing the work. There's saying it, and then there's doing the work as well. Um, Communities, SCAs providing a lot of opportunities for women that are, at different phases of their careers, right? And there's a lot of there's a lot of resources that go into that. I A lot of times, like, I think recently, I was seeing the post about the laptop um giveaway that happened recently, and it was just very nice to see how, like, imagine how they didn't have those resources before, and having it gives them an opportunity to keep pushing. And I've seen countless stories of, SEA queens that have gotten laptops, and they have, done a lot of things, right, in the tech space or in their careers. So putting money to the talk, donating to organizations that are doing the work, also resources. It might not be necessarily money, but like resources. I see a lot of partners that partner with SCA that give resources as well, laptops, data. There are a lot of resources that can be given as well. So I think that's what I'll say. People, other genders can help, you know, in making a more inclusive space to women. And then for the question around, I think the person asked when to switch. Could you repeat the question again? Sorry.
The person is actually asking if they can switch their career paths in tech.
Yes, yes, you can. It's your career. But yeah, like, I think just what you need to ask yourself is, why am I making this switch, right? It's different, like, I think just going back to when I switched from doing technical, no, I still do technical writing, but I'm more doing like program management now. um I think asking yourself, why am I making this switch? Is it that I enjoy doing things related to this particular field, or just assessing what your options are. And also sometimes some people want to assess the opportunities that are there in the space. That's usually not my own route. I usually go with, okay, what are my skills? What skills do I have, or what skills do I want to hone as regards this new career path I want to change, right? Because I know that if I put my mind into what I'm doing, I'll definitely find opportunities in that space. So I think it's more of like it's your choice to make it your career. You can be wherever you feel you want to be, but just be sure that you are assessing why you want to make the change, and then how do I get to this place I want to be, right? And connecting with people in that field. When I moved to program management, before I did that, I didn't just like blindly do it. I connected with people that were doing things like that. I connected with communities that were doing program management, that I could volunteer as a program manager, right? So yeah, it's your choice. Assess yourself, and then connect with people that are experts in that field, so that you get more guidance. So
Thank you so much, Ruth, for that insight. As you should follow everything Ruth has said, and I also want to let you know that it is okay to switch. It is okay to start from somewhere, and along the line, even find something you are more interested in. It is okay to start writing, and along the line, you say, "Oh, I've been writing. I think I'm more interested in the way user feel on platforms," right? So you can develop a lot of other interests and you go for it. But make sure you follow the reason why you're changing. Just like know the reason why you're changing or why you want to pursue the other career. So we've been talking. Thank you so much, Ruth. We've been talking about how other organization can ensure inclusion, can include women, and also be part of this change that we're talking about. I also want to, in a way, let us personalize this. So we've been talking about and encouraging organizations, individuals to be more inclusive. Now let us talk about we as women on our own. How can we ensure, or how can we be part of this change that we're talking about? How can we as women help ourselves in this world where we feel underrepresented or where we feel like we are not inclusive enough? I'm going to ask Andy and Ada this question. So who wants to go first? Hi, Andy. Are you ready?
I can go first. Okay, please, Andy. Please go first.
Sorry for
Oh,
putting you both on the
I was
spot.
I was just testing my microphone. I was just
You are good now.
okay, Ada. Okay, I guess you want me to go first. What I can say is, first, stay on the positive side. The conversations are being had. Equal work, equal pay. We've seen a lot of changes globally, and I like that the conversation is now front and center, right? So stay on the positive side. We're eventually going to get to where we need to be. Well, the first thing I'd say is find a good support group, and you're so lucky to have She Code Africa. This is where you get all the support. This is where you get to meet amazing people like Oma, like Ruth, like Ada, and like Omatola. Like this is where you need to be. So a support group is really, really important, and it does kind of, you get people to encourage you. Forums like this where you can have open discussions. So it's really necessary to identify a really good support group, and of course role models. People that you aspire to be. We just had the first female vice president in the U.S. After such a long time, and finally we're getting here. So the role models that you look up to, you aspire to be. You can always follow their podcasts. You can follow the different interviews that they have. Just listen to what they had to go through, the hoops that they had to jump to get to where they are. And, that should encourage you and give you sort of a roadmap. The other thing is, men can be allies. They can be allies in helping in areas that we are underrepresented. They can be your amplifier. They can speak up to
to what you're doing in the company, your achievements or something great. If you don't want to toot your own horn, I think that is where women are really impacted, where they don't want to toot their own horn. They're just like, oh, I did this, it's amazing. But, I just want to stay quiet about it. So men can be your allies in that sense. Let them amplify your achievements for you and speak up for you and, advocate for you as well. And then, of course, use this platform to encourage more women to get into tech, to get into these areas that are uncomfortable. This is the platform where we act as an example and we recruit more people, more women, more diverse groups to join this difficult sector. Well, it's not difficult, it's just challenging. Yeah, so thank you.
It is challenging. Thank you so much for sharing those. Over to you now, Ada. I actually want to hear from you.
Yes, but I think that Andy has said quite a lot that I was also going to mention. But a couple of things that I could add to what she has said is one is to be able to track your career growth, where people are giving you feedback. Make sure that you're noting those feedback down. Make sure that you are tracking what you're learning. The opportunities that you're receiving. Have all of those things tracked down, maybe in a sheet, in a doc, somewhere where you can always go back to look at, okay, how far your journey has come, and to also, pat yourself on the back. This is something that I still do every single year. I make sure that I'm tracking all of these things. So wherever you are in your career level, you can always do this. Then another thing is, put in the work while you're waiting for the opportunity to come. This is one place where I see a lot of people, not just women, a lot of people in general, fail to do. You're waiting for that big opportunity before you're putting in the work, before you're putting in, or before you get the opportunity to spotlight. You just keep waiting. And many times you want to be able to put in that work so that when the opportunity comes, it meets you prepared. Because they say opportunity comes but once, even though it doesn't just come once, but you don't want to miss whatever opportunity that comes your way. So make sure that you're putting in that work. Omar had said something about how many times, especially beginners, fall into that tutorial loophole. You're always learning new things, but you're not practicing. So practice, build more, build often. Another one is to be vocal about your learning. Somebody had talked on the comment section, had mentioned how, she's trying to use Twitter and LinkedIn more to, build her career growth. For somebody like me, I'm a big advocate of learning in public, talking about what you're doing. And even your failures at some point, you don't know who is watching, you don't know who is following your growth, either as a motivation for them or as evidence that you're putting in that work. Someone might just reach out and say, oh, I've seen that you're always talking about XYZ. I want to give you this opportunity to maybe either speak at so and so place, or I think that you're really good and I want to give you an employment opportunity. My first few employment opportunities came from, in fact, I think all of my employment opportunities, now that I think about it, came from the fact that I was really talking about it, talking about what I'm learning, talking about things that I'm doing, even beyond Chico Africa. And the last one, just to suffice, Andy had mentioned, which is joining a community, as similar to Chico Africa, and also joining maybe a smaller resource group of people who are in your level, so that you have peers who are able to pull you forward, when maybe things might be taking a slack. Because in your career growth, your journey, your career, there's always going to be periods and times where it feels like you just want to let go, you're tired, you want to rest. So you have your peers to motivate you. Hopefully you do all these things and you definitely see some improvements. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy and Ada. Everything they said, everything they both said. And I'm also going to add that change you're expecting to see starts with you. In as much as you're being empowered and we are telling you to take it back to your local community, to give back this value in your own little way, you yourself needs to put in the work so that when this opportunity comes, you are actually ready for it. So prepare now for the dream that you're dreaming, if that is correct in a way. And also, you have to be, I'm also going to add that you have to be your biggest motivator. Nobody is going to blow your trumpet if you don't blow it. Yes, it's going to be challenging. It isn't going to all be rosy, right? It's going to be challenging, but be your biggest motivator. Track your record, talk about what you are learning, talk about the struggles, and it will worth it at the end. Okay, so I have a question back to Hadi. and this is about the recruitment ecosystem or path. Let's say the question in this aspect, let me say the question should be, what trends shape the future of inclusive recruitment practices, and how can we, an organization, prepare for these trends?
Okay. Thanks, Omotola. Now, I know I've talked about a lot about AI today, but AI is part of us now, and it's going to follow us into the future. So, I would say that would be one of the biggest trends. AI will sort of help, mitigate a lot of these issues. I'm seeing Tindy in the chat mentioning that, because of her age, she gets to miss out on different opportunities. With AI, there won't be any discrimination on race, on gender, on background, on age. It will be more about what you can do, projects that you've done, or what your achievements are, more than who you are or how old you are, or what color you are, and so on and so forth. So AI is at the center front. And then, of course, we are also playing around with technologies that will sort of be able to read into. So there's, of course, virtual interviewing that's been happening a lot since COVID. And so with virtual interviewing, there are other complementary tools that are being implemented in this process, where there will be an application that can read your micro reactions. So when you're going through a question, it will probably be a virtual interview with a robot or with a chatbot, right? But how you answer and how you respond, it reads every single micro expression on your face. It will start to evaluate the levels of interest, how you react to different things. So stuff to do with neurolytics and all that is going to come in the future as well. And of course, companies will open up their recruitment process where it will be accessible, so that you can get to see, what stages or what hoops you have to jump before you join the company. So they'll be quite open and transparent with their recruitment processes. And of course, we will be looking at lifelong learning. So are you continuously improving yourself? Technology keeps changing. Are you adopting new skills? I remember sometime years back, Java was the stack to have, and now we're sort of moving into React and all these things. So it's continuous learning and adapting and changing. That will make you a bit more competitive in the future as well. And of course, moving away from CV-based hiring, and focusing more on skill-based hiring. So like I said, with the help of AI, with the tests that you will be interacting with, it will be more of skill-based than CV. And so being able to understand the kind of information to put in your resume, because of the AI factor, you could be a good candidate, but your resume, how it reads to AI would be completely different. So understanding what a new resume in 2030 is going to look like would be very important to grasp that. And also, a lot of companies will move away from CVs and focus more on projects or the skills that you bring on the table. So yeah, and of course, alternative sourcing channels. So we are kind of ahead of the curve with that one, tapping into the community ecosystem. People will move away from job ads and your LinkedIn searches, and try to get down to the congregated people or audience that you're looking to hire as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. And to the audience, I hope you've learned one or two things from the tree and everything Adi just shared. If yes, please feel free to share on other social media platforms and tag She Good Africa and use the hashtag SCAIWD. There is a question I want us to answer before. So I have a question for everyone. I'm going to drop that in the chat. And the question is, what are your hopes and aspirations for a more inclusive future? And how do you see yourself contributing to this achievement? So please feel free to share that in the comments and also on all social media platforms. Our guests are also going to be sharing their insights. We see Ruth just drop off. Thank you so much, Ruth, for joining us and for contributing. So back to the question that we have in the comments. We are Q&A session. So if you have any question, aside the ones that I guess I've already answered, please feel free to drop that. So how does one navigate the job search market for women starting a career in tech at the age of 29, 30? Especially from a non-tech background, as this is a preference for there is for younger people in entry-level roles. Handy, do you want to answer that? From your experience, right? From your experience.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, it's quite obvious. It's quite evident there's been a switch to tech, and a lot of people are transitioning into tech. And eventually, in the future, you will have some sort of tech aspect into your role. So transitioning again, age should not be an issue, and I'm sorry that it is right now, but it shouldn't be. But what I always say is volunteer, right? Because you have to sort of earn your stripes. You have to show what you can do. So the only way you can do that is volunteering. You know, because people want to pay for something they can see, oh, you can do this, or I'm going to pay you for that. But if you're transitioning and you're a newbie and, you know, you're trying to navigate that, you may have to volunteer or participate in freelance projects just so you can start to build a portfolio to, you know, to show what you can do. But you can transition into tech at any age. That should not be a limitation. Volunteering is the immediate advice I would give. Or identify a startup. That's always a good place to start, you know, because they're quite limited on budget sometimes. And so you can offer to participate and help in some of the projects that they have at a very downgraded fee. And then from there, garner experience and then get into it. I hope I have answered the question.
Yes, you answered that. And I also want to add that I have a very good experience, especially growing my career as a volunteer, right? The good part of my career started as a volunteering with She Could Africa. And I will tell you that when you volunteer and you have something to show for it, like you put yourself out there, nobody's going to care about your age. Yes, it's a thing, right? But at a point, nobody cares about your age or what your career background is, where you're coming from. People only cares, just like what Andy just mentioned, about the impact you can make, what you bring to the table. They're not going to ask you what's your age. The impact, you have what it takes to get the job. You have what it takes to get the job done, and that is what matters. In fact, at the point, they're not going to ask you, what did you study in school? I don't think my current job asks me, what did you study in school, or what is your age? No, nobody's going to. So I don't think that should be any limitation at any point. Okay. We have another question here. And the question, so Andy, thank you so much for answering that. That was perfect. Please, how do I show learning publicly? Do I just post what I learned every day? What can show my growth properly, please? Homa, do you want to answer this before I?
Okay, I can answer this. Thank you, Peace, for that question. So one thing I always say is it's best to outline your experiences in this way. And even on my resume, it's always like, what did you do? How did you do it? And what was the impact? Because during the previous cloud program, we were encouraged to post online. So I took this initiative of saying, okay, I learned about maybe GitHub Actions today. This is how I learned about it, or this may be a project or maybe a short assignment I did. This is how I did it, like maybe 3 sentences. Now, what is the impact of this pipeline to a company, like maybe a startup? If they have this pipeline in their system, how is it going to like help them help their growth, help the projects they are building or products they are supporting. So that way you're showing people that, okay, I'm not just learning something or cram, but anybody can cram documentation, anybody can cram syntax, anybody can cram templates, but do you understand why we are doing this and what is the impact to a business? So by doing things like that, and also maybe attaching links to maybe article you write or maybe code snippets, like a link to your GitHub. Well, not only doing through your GitHub or your maybe your LinkedIn profile, they can see that okay, this person learned about GitHub actions, and I see like from the explanation, they understand how this can impact my business moving forward. Maybe I should have a chat with them if they can maybe work for me or volunteer for me or something. So I think that's a very good way to go about sharing your learnings in public.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I also want to add that don't feel intimidated by am I sure I only know a little thing. I don't know too much. Am I sure I can share this? Or if I'm sharing this, people know more than me. I think that is something I faced at the early stage of my career. I know something, but I'm so scared of sharing because I know a lot of people that are better than me, and will they feel I'm sharing nonsense? No. Someone out there is going to benefit from that thing you're sharing. And if not, if just one person can benefit from it, it is okay. And look at it from this aspect, you sharing what you know, just to tell people, yes, I know this thing. The confidence starts from inner, like you just know that you're sharing what you know, the value you are making, even if it's small, even if it's big, everything will like come back together. There was this role I applied for at a point, and when I got to my interview, the person interviewing me said, Omotola, we've seen your work out there. Like the first part of the interview said, Omotola, we've seen the way you talk about your work. We know the impact you can make. So share as little as what you're learning, the impact you're making. Don't feel shy about it. There's a question for Ada. I'm trying to look through. So thank you so much, Omar, for answering that. Okay, this is for Ada. Ada, so this said, hello, I've been trying to get into tech for 2 years now, but resources can be difficult to come by, especially for one particular level. Also, when one gets the knowledge, it is not easy to apply it. So I think what the person is trying to ask is that they're trying to say they've been struggling to get into tech because they feel it is difficult for them to get resources. And also when they, maybe because there are lots of resources out there, they don't know how best to apply it to the field they want to go into. So that is the best way I can put the question. Do you get it? And I want to know if you have an answer for the person. Hi, Ada. Ada is smiling. So I'm not sure Ada is still with us. Okay. Do you want to take this question?
Yeah. Okay, I can attempt it. Okay, so I think one thing you can do is find, let's say, an actual human being you can talk to that is in that same field as yourself. So for me, I always, when I started with DevOps, I wasn't in SCA at that time. I didn't even know there was something like SCA at that time. So I was a member of MLSA, that was a Microsoft Student Academy, or a Microsoft Learn Students, I forgot what the name is, but for students, a community of students. So in that community, I had to ask, okay, who does DevOps? Has anybody heard of DevOps? So that was my first time of hearing about DevOps. And I think someone replied. But before that, in my university, I found someone who was doing front-end engineering. But I think in his company, they were using cloud. So I just spoke to him that, oh, have you heard about this thing before? And I was like, okay, I've heard about it. And we had a conversation. Then he encouraged me to like ask other people. Then when I asked in the community if there was someone who knew what DevOps is, someone replied me. And then I went into his DM and started chatting with him. So he gave me actual resources that he used to learn. So I think like ignore what is on the internet, ignore what Twitter people are saying, forget about that, and find a person, someone you can chat with or talk with physically or virtually. Like, okay, I see you are in this field. What resources do you recommend for a beginner like yourself? Like if someone asks me now, if I was to go back and start learning again, what resources we are. And I always give them the one and only resource, Learn to Cloud. So once I give you that resource, it has like a lot of entry level, intermediate, and maybe hard level exercise. So it's up to you to like look through, pick the one you're familiar with, and start with it. So find an actual person you can have a chat with. I think that's going to help you to actually get into the tech ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. And just to add to what you just mentioned, I'll say you need to be kind to yourself. There are lots of resources out there. There are lots of career paths in tech that you can go into. Consuming so many information sometimes will make you get tired easily. The ecosystem, learning or growing in this ecosystem, I'm going to put it to you that it's not easy, but you can do it. So if you're trying to consume this information, consume this resource, do apply for, some people apply for a lot of programs at once, and they try to be everywhere at once. So that way you're not keeping track of your learning. You're just trying to be everywhere at once, and you're not going to be good at it. You're not going to actually learn while on it. So be kind to yourself. Take it a step at a time. Find, I think Andy mentioned it, find a safe space, a space where you can learn slow and steady. I'll put it that way, right? Find someone that inspires you in that ecosystem or in that career path, someone who is already doing it. Reach out to them or just follow them closely because they might be busy. Follow them closely, see what they are sharing, and ask questions and learn at your own, learn at your own pace. Don't try to somebody is already on the intermediate level and you're just starting out and you want to be like the person straight up, or you want to get the same job or be on the same level the person is right now. Start at your own pace and be like careful with that. Thank you so much for that. And this last question, I don't think we have any new question in the chat. Somebody is talking about DevOps. They said it's quite overwhelming, and I think this is to Mary. Okay. This question is to you. They said DevOps is quite wide. How are you able to navigate through everything and understand the terms? Through everything. Have you been able to navigate through everything?
No, no. So what I just know, to be very honest, I know the basics. So what are the basics? You need containerization, CI/CD, logging, monitoring, and I don't know. And then you need something for security also, since you're doing DevSecOps. So what I know one major tool in all these aspects, and those tools I know them very well. So I feel once you are very grounded in one part of it, you can always pick up another tool because it's the same, what's the English now, syntax, but just different tools. So CI/CD, some people use GitHub Actions, some people use Azure Pipeline, some people use GitLab. But I know GitHub Actions very, very well. But I've done projects on Azure. I mean, my final project for the Chico Africa Cloud Bootcamp was purely Azure. I had to use Azure pipelines. So because I know very well, like, okay, this is how I write my job, this is how I write configuration. What I just had to do was check the pipelines, documentation. Okay, maybe in GitHub Actions, it is called a job, but in Azure pipelines, it's called something else, like maybe a stage or something. So that's just how you do it. So I propose you learn very well a particular tool for each aspect of DevOps, and you've noticed that as you go along, as you build projects, it's the same thing, just different tool names and maybe different syntaxes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. You did justice to that. And to the general question that I asked everyone, I can see our audience already dropping their response, their biggest motivation, their hopes and aspiration, and how they see themselves contributing to it. So now let me throw it back to the guest, and this is going to be like our final question. But before that, I know our audience, especially the SCA queens, they want us to make an announcement. So as part of our IWD celebration, the SCA community set out an initiative to support our community members who already have a laptop, but their laptop have one challenge or the other. We want to support them to repair their laptop. So this is an SCA community initiative, and we've also put it out there that you can support Queens, you can support SCA Queens through this initiative. So if you want to donate to this initiative to help someone who already has a laptop but they're having challenge with their laptop, because this resource is very important to help them to grow and also to be included in the ecosystem. So please feel free to donate to, and this is to everybody out there, feel free to donate to this initiative. Feel free to tell your employers, your organization about the impact SCA is making, and encourage them to also donate to this initiative and some other initiatives that we have, so that we can support and empower community members, women and girls in general. So SCA Queens, sorry, I'm not going to announce the winner. We set out that we're going to choose some few queens, some few members that we're going to be supporting. But the team, we are going through the applications, and we want to pick the winners. Everybody deserves it, but because we have just a little to support everybody, and that is why we are also encouraging. You can advocate for it, so you can retweet our post about the initiative and encourage your audience to. You don't know where you being an advocate, where this can also reach. So I want to say sorry, we are not going to announce the winner today as promised, but before the end of this week, please stay tuned within the community. We are going to announce the winner and also announce that on our social media platforms. Apologies once again, we are not going to be sharing today. Okay, so let's move to the last question that we have for our guests. So anybody can pick these. I also want to. So the last question is, what are your hopes and aspirations for a more inclusive future? And how do you see yourself contributing to this achievement? I'm going to start with Andy.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is a lot of people don't talk about this, but survey shows that women actually outperform men in leadership positions in tech. And there's a whole 10% disparity where women actually scored 52% in leadership performance against men. So what I'd like to see is more women, more diverse groups in leadership positions. We get tired of, engaging with our clients, and most of them are men because they're in leadership positions and they're leading these conversations. So I'd like to see more women at the table, and also, of course, fair pay and equal pay for the contribution that they make to organizations. I'd like to see women having the option to start a family and not have to leave work and not have to give up on their career, be able to manage it all, right? I'd like to see women influencing a lot of areas in tech. There is some areas in tech that there's very few to no women, architecture and all of this. I'd like to see women also transitioning into this, in a situation where we're asked, we need to reach our diversity goal, but we don't have any female candidates. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to be able to, cast a dice and it lands on a woman and, she makes it through the process. How am I contributing to this? Talking about it, having conversations like this, driving more campaigns to have women get into tech. So the lady, was it Chuma, who said, I'm 29 or 30 and I want to get into tech. Get into tech, Chuma. We need you to add on to the numbers that we're looking for. So that's what I'd like to see for the future.
Thank you so much for inspiring. Thank you. Okay, Oma, let's go to you now.
Okay, thank you. I would like to see more women in leadership, technical leadership position. I would like to see more women as head of engineering, team lead, or other technical, like senior technical roles, senior DevOps, something like that. And how I'm contributing to this is by actively mentoring, trying to work on myself to also improve, or I think maybe there are people that are looking up to me, so I can be like a good example to them. I also want to see more women that are not scared, they are not shy to speak up about stuff, especially like technical things. Like we go into a room, we're discussing on maybe infrastructure, women that can speak up that, okay, I propose this method because of this, and you have the men saying like, oh yeah, okay, this is cool, and things like that. I also want a work environment whereby there's no mansplaining, nobody's coming to talk to me about something like, do I know how to do push and pull requests? Like I passed through the employment interviews like yourself. So why are you coming to ask me if I know push and pull requests? Like, please, let's respect each other. So yeah, I just want a workspace where women are seen as human beings. Everybody has like equal opportunity, equal access. And I want more women who are more technically grounded, also know what you're talking about, or confident about what you're talking about, and you can also defend it. So how I contribute to all this is just mentoring and working on myself to be a better example to everyone looking up to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Ruth also dropped her open aspiration and how she intends to contribute to this. I will be sharing that. So let's move on to Ada. Hi, Ada.
Hi, thank you, Omotora. And I just want to quickly apologize. Earlier, my laptop was hanging, so I had to like restart the entire thing. But yes, to quickly respond to your question, I think for me, it's my hopes are to see the digital poverty landscape in Africa reduce, especially when it comes to women. So, digital poverty in the sense that a lot of women struggle to get even the most basic resources to start a career in tech. And if we're able to advocate for that, if we're able to get women the opportunity to get these resources, we're definitely going to see that number increase. Before we even get to the point of wanting to see women in leadership roles, we need to start from inception. And the way that I'm contributing to that is what we're doing at Chipwood Africa with our scholarship programs, making sure that we are providing as many women as possible with these resources for free to make sure that they're able to not just start a career in tech, but also build like sustainable careers in technology. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So I'll still put it back to the general audience. What are your hope and aspiration for a more inclusive future? And how do you see yourself contributing to these achievements? Please feel free to share on social media platforms in the comments, tag Shikut Africa, and use the hashtag SCA-IWD-2024. And for me, Omotola, I want to see an ecosystem where women can be on any position they want to be, where women don't feel less of themselves, right? Where women aspire to be whatever they set their mind on. And for me, I intend to come in by advocating for women, telling them they can do it. I'm going to use my words, I'm going to use my action, and I'm going to inspire other women like me through my own work. That is what I intend to do. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Special thanks to our guests. Thank you so much for joining us on this session. Thank you so much for sharing insight, for sharing inspiration. I'm very sure our audience have learned a lot today, and for folks that are going to be watching this video later, thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate you for making that time for this. Please let everybody remember that every day is for celebrating women in tech, for celebrating women in general. And as Chicode Africa, that is what we are doing, celebrating women and empowering them. So feel free to join our community, subscribe to our channels, follow us on all social media platforms. If you want to be part of what we are doing, the impact we are making as Shikut Africa, feel free to reach out to us on our website. Feel free to donate to our initiative, partner with us, reach out to us. We can work things out, be part of this success story. And to Propel, thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for the impact you are making through Shikut Africa as well. And to our audience, it is not bye bye, but see you again. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.